If you're anything like me, you'll have had a variety of jobs over the years. I've collected golf balls on the driving range, I've pulled pints behind the bar, and of course now I have a love for all things financial planning. But one thing that I don't love is all of that paperwork that you have to deal with from the pensions you'll pick up along the way. I mean, surely there's only so many pension providers, right? But I bet you there's at least one person watching right now that's got money with Nest, People's Pension, Standard Life, Royal London, Legal and General. I could go on and on. Let me know in the comments how many pension providers you've managed to cover. And here's the real problem. It's not just the headache of keeping track of a bit of paperwork or the admin issues that come with changing address or employers. The real issue is that it can cause us to disengage. If something becomes a mess, we naturally put off tackling it. I mean, forget switching energy providers. Pensions seem like a whole nother level. And this tends to lead to us not knowing what we've built up, whether it's going to be enough, are we on track? It can leave you feeling a little lost. So you can see why one of the most common questions I'm asked is, should I combine all of my pensions into one neat and tidy pot? Well, let's dig into it. Hi, my name's Andrew. I am a chartered financial planner based in the UK. If you're new here, do me a solid and tap that subscribe button for plenty more to come in future. Let's start with the outcome that we'd ideally want. In a perfect world, we'd have a single pension plan, we'd know where that sits, we'd know how to access and view that, we'd understand how we're invested and the options we'd have at retirement, and all of this would help us engage better in planning for our future. The slight complication to this is that in the UK, your employer chooses their workplace pension, not you. So if you take on a new employed role, you might be adding a new pension pot to your collection. Now, if you're employed, you absolutely want to be in your workplace pension scheme. There's very, very few circumstances where it wouldn't be to your benefit to have those employer contributions going into your plan. But it might be that you feel that the plan that your employer has chosen for you isn't perhaps the best home for all of your pension money, in which case you don't just want to bring all of the money you've accrued to date into this new plan to keep it nice and tidy in one pot. I've personally chosen to resolve this with a sort of core and satellite approach. I choose to have a main core plan, the one that you'll probably keep for many, many years to come, that really suits you, the one that you are most comfortable with. And then if you join a new job, an employed role, you'll have that kind of satellite workplace pension. And on leaving the job, you might then choose to consolidate that into your main core pot. I'll caveat that slightly and come back to some reasons why you may not want to do that as part of this video. If you are self employed, running your own business, or just no longer in employment, you don't have to worry about workplace pension complications. You can just focus on that sole core pot. So, what makes a good core pot? Well, if you're choosing this type of plan, it will be a defined contribution plan, a pot style pension, probably labeled as a SIP, as most online or app based plans are SIPs these days. And I personally judge a good core plan off these four factors. Firstly, I'm going to look at the product and investment charges or costs. What am I paying for plan administration and the investment management side of things? Secondly, I'm going to look at the investment flexibility. Do I have the option to invest as I want? What options are there on the table? Third, I'm going to look at the quality of the offering. What is the website like? Do they offer an app? Is there support if it's needed? And lastly, point four, what about the drawdown functionality? What options do I have when I'm taking money out of the plan? Is it fully flexible? And will I have the option of beneficiary drawdown on death? Now, clearly, being the spring chicken that I am, I'm some way off taking money out of my pension plan.
Well, I mean, you're not young.
So you might think with point four, why is drawdown functionality so important? Well, even at this age, any age really, I'd like to make sure that if I were to die, my beneficiaries will have the option to keep the money within a pension wrapper, keep it growing tax efficiently. Yes, they could take it as a lump sum, but I do want to give them that option. And if I were 55 or above, drawdown functionality would be a huge feature for me, possibly the most important, really. I want to have control over how and when I take my money, plan that tax efficiently. I want to be able to phase my tax-free cash, crystallize partially, phase drawdown, you might hear that phrase. Without getting too technical, if you're going to manage your own withdrawals, you do want to have control over it, and not all plans do. Now, coming back to product costs or charges, you might think it's odd to list this as point one on my criteria for a good pot, but it is a huge factor. A 1% charge over 25 years could end up eating a quarter of your pension pot. So, small differences in annual ongoing costs need to be factored in. And it's not the only consideration, but it's certainly one that I would be comparing and contrasting between pension providers and investment managers. There's tons of information, tons of YouTube videos out there as well that compare these. But if you're unsure what you're paying on your existing plans, have a look at the website, and if it's still unclear, just give them a call. They will have to tell you. But remember to balance off costs against investment flexibility. Getting the investment piece wrong could end up costing you a lot more than any product charges. So I would ask myself, do I know enough? Am I informed well enough to go off and select my own investment strategy? It doesn't have to be too complex. It might be a single fund, it might be a basket of global equities. But do I know what I'm doing in that space? Do I know what I'm looking for? If you do, a low cost online SIP where you select your own fund could be the best suited plan for you. But if you're unsure, there are some guided options where providers try to give a more restricted range of funds and give you perhaps even a questionnaire to help narrow in on which one might be right for you. It usually comes at a little bit more of a cost, but could prevent you from making some really disastrous decisions. And of course, at the other end of the scale, you've got fully regulated financial planning and advice. And this would look at your entire circumstances, take away all that hassle factor, and give you a fund that's personalized to you. And coming back to my third point, the quality of the offering, what if the website is awful, always down, the app just doesn't exist or is useless? What if your income payment's been delayed or missed? You need to get somebody on the phone and they're just no help whatsoever. Clearly, cost then isn't going to be your only factor. So, have a look at reviews, read online forums, get opinions from others that hold the plan, or take regulated advice. But consider the quality of the offering before jumping into the lowest cost plan. But just pause for 1 second. Before you go transferring any existing pensions into a new plan, give consideration to a few of these factors. Now, I'll rapid fire run through these at a higher level, but if you want me to expand a little bit more, let me know in the comments. Firstly, workplace pension schemes. As mentioned, don't just opt out of your employer's plan because you don't like the provider or investment options available. Take a look at my video on not just defaulting with your workplace pension, which might solve the investment side of it whilst you're employed there. And when you do leave employment, yes, you might want to move this into your core pot, but take a look at the plan charges as well, because a lot of group schemes are heavily discounted through the sort of purchasing power of your employer. Secondly, guarantees. So a lot of typically older pension plans may have guarantees built in. One common one was guaranteed annuity rates. This was a very 80s, 90s kind of vibe. Wouldn't see it now on modern pension plans, but these providers have guaranteed you a conversion rate for your pot to a guaranteed income for life, meaning that if you want a secure income, you'll probably get the best rate with this provider rather than just going to the open market. Not always the case, but very often. And on transfer, you're usually giving this up. Other guarantees might include guaranteed annual rates of return, investment return, on with profit funds, or guaranteed minimum pensions. Do check on these, they'll be sacrificed on transfer. A related point would be protections. So, some, typically again older plans, allow you to take more than 25% of the fund value as tax free cash, or have a protected pension age where you'll be able to access money prior to age 55, the current statutory minimum age. Now, depending on your intentions, these might be reasons that you want to leave these plans where they are rather than consolidate. We then have potential penalties or exit fees on transfer. Your provider will be able to confirm these for you. It might be linked to plan charges, it might be linked to market value reductions for certain investment strategies. This is becoming more and more a thing of the past, thankfully, but check in on it. It might be that it's better waiting for a certain period of time to let those exit penalties go, And if not, just be aware that you're taking that hit and be clear on why you're doing it and why it makes sense for you. As my last point, I'm going to pick up on defined benefit schemes, often referred to as final salary or career average. Think teachers, NHS, police. These schemes are largely in the public sector. And if it is a public sector and unfunded scheme, you won't have the option to transfer out to a pot style pension in any event under current rules. You can transfer between DB schemes, but you'd probably want to get advice as to whether that makes sense for you. For the defined benefit scheme holders out there that were largely probably in the private sector, possibly no longer with that employer and have a scheme that's deferred, you will have the option to transfer out. You can get a cash equivalent transfer value. But what I will say on this is for 90% probably plus people, it's not right. It's not the right option for you. The guarantees, security, and certainty that the existing scheme offers will be far more beneficial than the risks and responsibilities you would take on by moving to a defined contribution style pension. That's not to say that it's not right for everyone. Of course, if the transfer value is over 30,000, you'll need to get regulated advice in any event. So going through that process will help you figure that out. Thank you for watching. I hope this video has given you a clearer idea on whether you should be combining or consolidating your pension plans. Has it given you the motivation to go on and do that? Have you got a clearer idea on what a good pot looks like and whether there's factors that might apply to existing plans that would mean you would leave those in situ? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tap that like button if you've enjoyed the video. It helps in getting us out to a wider audience. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you for a future video.